Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we have a really fun Castle Arts Harmonious pencil color along. We're going to use Hanna Karlzon's Merry Christmas book. We're going to color that page together. So meet me on the other side and let's get started. On one of my recent posts on my YouTube channel page, I got a lot of requests for a color along with Castle Arts Harmonious pencils. So I thought the perfect book to do that in would be the new Merry Christmas book by Hanna Karlzon, because I've also gotten requests to color a page out of this book. So this is what we have. I've colored most of this page, and in true Kim color along fashion, we will color the rest together. So I do have a coloring cheat sheet. I don't know, at the time I'm going to publish this, in order to just get it out there quickly for y'all, there won't be any color conversions. I've not ever done color conversions for the Castle Arts Harmonious set yet, so I'll have to work on that for the future. So I apologize if you don't have this set, but reach out and let me know, and I will try to work on something maybe in the early new year for you guys to convert these. In order to convert these, because these colors are so nuanced, they're going to convert best to colored pencil sets that have a lot of colors, like Prismacolor, of course, has 150 colors. ChromaFlows has 150. Black Widow has a ton. But then you look at like the Luminance and Polychromo sets that have fewer pencils, and it's harder to get some of these subtle shade differences. So I can't make a promise, but if y'all encourage me enough, I could probably be talked into doing it. So what we've got here, there's actually 18 colors, because these are at least 3 or 4 colors per color combo. And since I have not yet made a better cheat sheet with 20 boxes instead of the 10, please forgive me as I split the box in two, and I just put the pencil numbers up here. So, and I went in the order of these combos, so you can see pencils 25 and 29, which would be Sweet Lilac and Purple Rose. But that way you can see the actual shade individually apart from the combo. So I wanted to make sure you still had that. Also at this time, I don't know when I'm finishing this video if I'm going to add a background to it or not. I'm leaning towards Distress ink, because that would be super quick and not very messy, especially since I didn't block this out yet with drawing gum. What is my word? Like I normally like to do before I use any kind of background. So something, and I'm thinking maybe if I go lighter to darker, it will be more forgiving if I overlap some of these colors here. Okay, I think that's it. So I've broken this down into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 color combos. So I will color those with you on this page. I'll do some speed coloring too for some of these bigger areas. And then we'll talk about the background and see how we can finish this. So let's get started with color combo 1, which is berries. I'll be right back. Combo 1, Sweet Lilac, Purple Rose, Blueberry, and Night Blue. And I have these here. Night Blue, which is pencil 44. I wanted to talk about that. So there's not a black pencil in the Harmonious set. And I like to use black pencils for my shading. So you will find Night Blue in at least 3 of my combos here. What I was also going to tell you is you could also use it as a color at the bottom of this combo, and even in some of your shadows for the leaves and the bell combo, both actually. So you'll see me do that on and off. So the Night Blue is optional, but I think it adds a nice extra shadow to all of these. But let's go ahead and get started on the berries. I will zoom in right now. Okay, a lot of what you'll see on this page is a lot of shadows and a lot of highlights. So what we'll do, we've colored spheres before. I'm going to pretend my light source is coming in this direction and hitting the berries that way. So I use the lightest, we'll start here. I'll use the lightest color at the top here. That was Sweet Lilac. Then I'm going to take Purple Rose and color that in more of like an oval here. Then the Blueberry, I don't know these colors by heart, so I apologize, which is a darker purple, kind of at the bottom. And then the Night Blue will be a shade that will come in and use here for the deep shadow. So now where it gets a little tricky is, okay, back to the Sweet Violet. You can see how light it is. So a lot of the time with these pencils, and I think the reason I don't use Castle Arts in general for me is because I'm used to using Prismas so much, and they're softer, and I can do more with fewer layers. So with the Castle Arts, I'm finding I just have to add and do maybe more layers to get the depth of the color that I really want. So you'll see with, you know, a lot of the time when you watch my color alongs, you'll see me do 1, 2 layers, maybe 3, and boom, we're done. But with these pencils, to get these beautiful colors, we might have to add a few more layers. But I will tell you, prior to this, I've only used Harmonious pencils on Amazon paper, which I know is a sin to only have used them there. So that is my only basis for comparison. But when I started using them here on this Hanna page, they actually are so much easier to color with and so much better. And maybe I'm coming around a little bit more on Castle Arts pencils in general. I always wanted to show them love, but they've never quite been my favorite, even though they have such beautiful colors. And also blueberry, let's see here. So I think that's what I have to say about that. So for this video, you'll see me doing a few more layers than I might normally do, and that would be why. And so this night blue just gets a little bitty line at the bottom. And you can see here, the purple rose is really where I'm trying to get that very purpley color. Sweet lilac at the top. And what you could do too is you could take the blueberry and maybe even bring it up. So you're just sort of making a letter C, right? With that darker color. You can kind of bring it up along the sides. Add a little more interest. So that's all there is to one of these berries. So I'm going to go ahead and color the rest of these berries off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got the main berries done. So what I'm going to do now, I wanted to do the night blue together with you guys to show you, you know, with these two berries that are kind of mostly visible, it's real easy to color those. But when you get into these berries hiding behind a leaf or the ribbon or other berries, I wanted to show you how I work on the shadows. So we'll start here. You know, I add like a little night blue along the sides because this berry is overlapping these two. And then I'm doing it a little bit here, kind of lightly. I guess that wasn't too lightly. But anywhere there's just a little bit of overlap, I'm adding a little bit of the night blue, just like along this edge of the ribbon, maybe the edge of this leaf, and then also just to the bottom of the berry itself in general. Just a little bit of an extra pop of the bluish color there. And then I will go back with the, where is it, purple rose. I really try to blend all that in. Oops. And I will go back and get that. I got a little eager there. But don't try to be too prescriptive. Just color it the way it feels right to you. You know, you might be looking at mine going, I don't like that at all. Then don't do it that way. I want you to do it the way that you want to. Okay, one thing that you could also do, there's an antique violet color that I use in the ribbon. If you wanted to add like a little bit of a more reddish purple, you can add like a little bit of that, and you can see how it changes the purplish color from more of the bluish purple to more of a reddish purple. So you can do that and mix it up just a little bit if you wanted to. Just a little added interest. So that will be the berries. Also, hang on. I do use the night blue. You know, I like to outline things, to do my outlining carefully. I say carefully to me because I get in a hurry and then it gets a little sloppy. So we'll use that as an outline. And then we will also come back and use the night blue. I think that's good. So now we can add it a little bit along the outside of the berries, like there's a cast shadow on this leaf here. Might be hard to see. I didn't do it on these down here when I colored them. I'll take care of that right now. Just a little bit here, but anywhere there's a shadow, I'm using the night blue. That also kind of pulls it all together since it's sort of the same color. At least to me it does. Maybe it doesn't. I don't have any formal art training, so if you do and you're listening to me and rolling your eyes, I don't blame you. Okay, so there we go. So now what we can do is actually move on to the green leaf, but that will take care of the berries, and I hope that you found that helpful. So let me get the green and we'll move on to the leaf. I'll be right back. For the leaves, we have 3 colors: pale apple, mellow sage, and seaweed. You have them right here. And if we look at how I colored like this leaf up here, it's very light. And in fact, the way I colored most of this page, you will see a very strong outline and then lighter colors on the inside, especially with the leaves. So this is real easy to achieve. So what I'm going to do first is start out with the pale apple. And I will just color that kind of generously along the middle of the leaf. And again, this one's hard to see, just laying down this color up front. Okay, now before I go and commit the mid-tone, I'm actually going to move to the outline, which is seaweed. And I'm going to take this pencil and I'm going to just do little circles along the outline of this leaf. And doing the circles keeps me from getting like pencil line streaks in a way. Since this is going to be real close to the edge, I'm just doing little, I hope you can see that motion with my pencil, little bitty circles. Along the fold of the leaf, I'll do that right there. And go back to little bitty circles. All right, I'm going to speed this up for the rest of this outline part. Okay, now I will take the mellow sage, which is the mid-tone of the 3 greens, and I'm going to use that to color in these little spots here, but I'm going to use it to color along the edge of this outline that we just set down. And again, this is going to be a couple of different layers. So this is just the first layer. So we're keeping this mid-tone real close to the edge of the seaweed. Again, this is the mellow sage. And I think out of all of these colors, well, that's not true. The green combo and then the brown combo for the bell were the ones I struggled with the most to get good pigmentation out of the pencils. But it's just the color that they are. That's how it is. And I'm patient enough to work with several layers, even though normally I'm not. I promised to be patient with this. Okay, now I'm going to take the seaweed again. Oops, let me keep my pencils from rolling over there. Now I'm going to add a little bit of a darker outline, just following the edge with the seaweed. Okay, that makes sense? You see what I'm doing there? Just creating a little bit of a darker outline. And that gives it more of that dramatic contrast to the, especially to the light pigment in the middle. Okay, now I will take the same seaweed and we'll do the light circles kind of quickly, just away from that edge a little bit to reinforce that color along the edge of the leaf. Okay, back to the mid color, the mid-tone, Mellow Sage. I'm just going to press a little bit harder, but I'm going way down into the, see how I'm blending that into that, what we just feathered with the outline? And see how it helps bring a little bit more of that color out in the leaf. Just blending those two together. And that's where we get, I think, most of the benefit of that color from. Honestly, in these little sections up here, I'm okay with just using the seaweed, since it's probably going to be highly shadowed right there in those little parts anyway. Okay, now back to the very first color, which was Pale Apple. And I'm going to use the Pale Apple and just try to blend all of this together. And it's hard because you can see I'm using like big, I call it like children's coloring strokes, just back and forth, like I'm coloring with a crayon. But that's okay. So if you actually see pencil strokes, you can go in the other direction. But I kind of get in a hurry. So, but you just want to blend all of those back together again. And this was like the final blending step for the colors. How does that look? Pretty good? Now on these edges here, there's not a lot of room for laying down three colors, so I just kind of laid down the mid-tone a little bit. Mellow Sage, I like that, it's mellow. And then I will come back with some seaweed, the bottom of it, and just kind of outline that just a little bit. And it's okay if it doesn't go the way you want it to go. Nobody's going to know what your plan was and if you did or didn't execute on your plan accordingly. All right, last thing we're going to do, we're going to take the seaweed and see how there's like, sorry about that with my voice, like almost two faint lines that make the center of the stem. So I'm going to pretend that those are solid and color the center of the stem like that. And then I will take the other leaf detail lines and use my seaweed. And you can connect the dots if you'd like, or if you wanted to leave them separate, that's cool too. With that, then you can take the Mellow Sage a little bit, sort of blend that out. But that's your leaf. That's all there is to it. It's really just, you know, the secret is the little circles. So if you do the little circles first, then blend it with the second color, the mid-tone color, go back and then do your actual outline, and then blend it again with the circles in your mid-tone. That's how you're going to get that sort of soft, layered look for your leaves. Okay, we will do the bow next. I will be right back. All right, for the bow, we have 4 colors and then the addition of the night blue for shadowing that we want to do. But it's Dusty Rose, Plum, Beetroot, and Antique Violet. So, oops. I had these lined up before I turned on the camera. There you go. I hope you can see that. So let's talk about this a little bit. So we'll do the ribbon separately, but we're going to do the bow first. So I went ahead and colored all these parts of the bow, and I'll show you how with this one to do it the same way. Now, I am not being accurate with my light and shadow sources because, you know, we said for the berries that we're going to do the light coming this way. Well, I'm coloring the ribbon as if the light's coming straight down or straight forward on the bow, not really honoring that same light source. So please forgive me for doing that, but also do this any way you want to, but I will show you how to blend the colors so you can add your highlight or shadow by pulling it forward or backward, either way you want to do it. So we will start out with the bow. So let me zoom in. First color we're going to take will be the Dusty Rose. So you can see here, I'm going to kind of follow, and also you can see the curve of the bow up here. So I'm just going to kind of throw down almost like a vertical stripe of the Dusty Rose here. Next up, we'll do a light layer of plum. And again, it might be hard to see these colors on camera because they are so soft. But I will put a little elbow grease in just a minute and you'll start seeing the color really come through. Next we have beetroot. And again, this first layer for me was really to block where I wanted to put these shadows and the highlights. Antique Violet. Maybe down here. And at the very edge. And see here, against the red, the Antique Violet looks blue. But against the bluish purples, it looks red, which is kind of makes it a fun, versatile violet color. It could either look red violet or blue violet. Okay, and again, I'm just doing my little circle trick here. That also helps me sort of keep it in the lines. Not always. All right, now we're going to go back with the beetroot. I'm going to bring the beetroot all the way down to this part of the ribbon or the bow. And now you can see with that second layer of color, the pigmentation is a lot stronger. And again, we're going over the Antique Violet and bringing the beetroot up just a little bit. It's almost like the Antique Violet provides a darker undertone with the beetroot over the top. Makes it really pretty. Okay, and so also you want to start getting a little softer as you color away from your main block of the beetroot, and that's going to help blend it with the plum, which is next. And don't be afraid that we put this light color down first and it was kind of wide and now we're narrowing it. That's totally fine. Remember, there aren't any rules with coloring. I mean, there probably are, but I just try not to use them. Plum. Dusty Rose. I'm also kind of doing this at an angle from the way I would normally color, so it's a little harder for me to see where I'm putting the color. Let's go back to, we're going to work again from the outside in like we just did. Get the Antique Violet. And really emphasize that on the edge here. So really you could kind of think of this bow as being three main colors with this darker color to just sort of anchor it at the edges. Then here's the beetroot. Really blend that beetroot in. Now we're back to the plum. Now you can see how you're getting more of that reflective line there, right? Don't be afraid of it. It's okay if it looks like a stripe. That's how these highlights sometimes look, especially the very contrasty bright highlights. Like if you look at metal, and sometimes these bows are sort of a foil, not like foil, but a very reflective material. So your highlight could be a lot stronger. Okay, so there's that. Now what I want to do, let's talk about the shadow along here. So that is the night blue. So we're going to make little circles. And then I'm going to take the night blue and add this outline here. And I believe I used the plum to sort of blend it all in together. And that gives you that nice little shadow going on there. Okay, and then I think, I can't tell if I used anything for the lines up here, but you could use like the antique violet. Or you could even use the night blue for these lines if you wanted to. I guess I do have them over here a little bit. And then the last thing I want to do is take the night blue, now that we've colored this part of the ribbon, and emphasize this little fold over piece on the bow. Let's see how that adds just that extra depth and dimension. So there you go. So now we'll use the same colors on this little ribbon down here. Okay, here the concept is the same. You're just going to follow the curve. So you can take the curve here, and we'll start out with the dusty rose. And maybe the light is hitting it here on that curvature of the ribbon. Then comes the plum. And we'll put the plum on either side. And the ribbon is actually pretty fun to color with, or to color. I think it's always fun when you add all your layers and you can step back and then the highlights actually look really good. So when you're just kind of up close and working on it, you're going to think, oh, this kind of looks bad. But just trust the process. And sometimes when we step away and we look at our work from a distance, it's like, wow, I'm awesome. That looks good. And don't be afraid to say, wow, I'm awesome. I want y'all to, because I think all of you are awesome. Okay, so that's the antique violet. And we'll come back to this little shadow here in a little bit with the night blue. Back to the beetroot. And remember to blend the beetroot into the antique violet. I can't believe I just forgot that color. Okay. There we go. Now we're going to really use the plum to blend the transition for us into the dusty rose. Night blue. Let's get the night blue out. And let's just tuck a little bitty bit of that right there where the ribbon curls. And then we will blend that back out with the plum. And that will give you a really nice definition there, a little bit of a line so you can see how that looks. And then we can take the antique violet and do our lines there, however you want to. And that's it. That's all there is to the ribbon. Next, let's do the blue background. I'll be right back. All right, for the blue background, 4 colors: duck egg, mosaic blue, gentian blue, I think that's how you say that, and night blue. So here are the 4 colors right here. Again, like the leaf, you could see the very strong outline, and then it gets very light into the middle. And then also I'm adding shadow from the object sitting on this blue circle with the night blue as well. So let's come over here and we'll color this last little bit of the circle together, and I'll show you how it's done. Okay, we're going to start out with night blue, which is 44, and we're going to do our circles. Little circle trick, right? All right, and on this I'm going to add a little bit of an outline here. Next is number 47, gentian blue. And we'll come up a little bit, more circles, but really blending into that night blue. But feathering it lighter as we move towards the center of the circle. Mosaic blue is next. And again, we're blending down into the gentian blue. Blending it all together. And then duck egg is last. And this is the color you will just use for everywhere else inside the circle. I love this duck egg. I think it's so pretty. It will take a few layers to get this blue to really pop. Okay, that's not perfect, but we'll call it good enough for now. So now I want to come back, add a little bit, I feel like I've got like a little bit of a line there in my blue. Shore that up. Okay, lastly, we're going to use the night blue, and we're just going to color the outer rim of this circle with the night blue. And there you go. We can actually bring a little bit of the night blue up just a little bit. I'm looking at the rest of the circle that y'all can't see, just to make it match a little bit better. Okay, there we have our circle. Now what I want to do is let's use the night blue to outline the shadow for these objects here. We'll start the leaves. And again, it's just a real light line that we're using. You can do little circles if you wanted to. I'm just kind of doing a very gentle outline outside of the leaf itself. And then I'm going to go back with the night blue and go over the illustration line art to make that more prevalent. And then we'll use the duck egg to blend out that shadow a little bit. And that's how we get our little hint of a shadow there. We'll do the same thing around the berries. We'll do the same thing here with the ribbon. And that's really all there is to it. So you can see all over this page how I've used night blue inside all of these spaces and then blended it with the duck egg to give you that extra shadowy appearance. Okay, next we will work on the bell. I will be right back. Okay, the bell is a little trickier just because it's a wider, larger object to color. So it definitely takes a lot more layers. And these grayish browns are very light. So you can see there's 4 of them: dove gray, gossamer, moss gray, and moonstone. And what I've started doing here, again, I'm doing a highlight right down the middle of the bell. So I could take the dove gray, I started on this side, and we'll go ahead and carry it over to the right side. So the dove gray, you almost can't even see it when I'm coloring with it. And that's okay. Next we have gossamer. So the gossamer will come in close to the dove gray, but we'll leave kind of like a wider area for that. And we'll just really get extra dark as we move to the outside edges of the bell. Moss gray is next. And you can see this one is a lot more pigmented. We'll bring that in a little bit closer towards the center of the bell. Definitely has a lot more pigmentation to it. In fact, I probably, stepping back and looking at this, should take the gossamer in a lot farther. Okay, now the darkest is moonstone. And that will go at the very edge. So we will do the same thing over here that we've done along our dark edges. We will do our little circle trick. And you can actually color in a little bit. We're not going to stay on the very edge of the outline. We can bring that darker color in a lot more than maybe we did with the blue on the circle or the green on the leaf. So if you want to make your circles a little bit bigger, go for it. And also, okay. Oops. This moonstone is pretty, and that's going to give us a lot of the darker color that we want on this bell. So now what I'm going to do, you can see the way we've sort of blocked the color in. So let me bring the moonstone back on this side and work on darkening the left edge a little bit. Moss gray. I'm just really blending all of that as best as I can. Would probably help if I feathered the moonstone a little bit better going up into the moss gray, but that's okay. And again, I am coloring with big, wide, back and forth strokes, which isn't always, you can see I've got streaky lines. Gossamer next. This one is very light compared to the last color, the moss gray. So you might have to work that pencil a little bit more, a little bit harder to get that blended out. Dove gray. You can see the dove gray is going to help blend out that moss gray a little bit. But again, don't be afraid if you have kind of that defined line. Sometimes that's what our highlights really look like. So now I'm going to finish all the blending and I will speed color the rest of this part. All right, I think that should be good for now. And you know what? I'm really not so bothered with the back and forth lines. To me, that could imply the texture of the metal of the bell, like maybe when they were forming the bell. You can even see here you've got the lines. So that doesn't bother me so much. Let's talk about the bottom of the bell. So if we have a shadow closer as you go up inside the bell, you're going to have your lighter color on the outside. All right, I'm going to do this a little sideways. I hope y'all will forgive me for that. So this is going to be, and I'm almost going to make it like an arc kind of going that way a little bit. This is the dove gray, by the way. I have to pause and look at the pencil names since I'm not so familiar with them. Okay, Gossamer is next. Moss gray. And the moonstone. And actually the moonstone might even come down a little bit on the edge over here, up here. It's really going to be darker closer to the top, not quite that whole section there. Maybe a little bit there. If it's easier for you to follow the illustration lines, go for it. I'm just kind of winging it. I'm going to bring the moss gray, oh sorry, gossamer. Sorry guys. I'm going to bring it down a little bit further just to get more color on the bell. I'm going to go back to the moonstone, try building the color and pulling it down. Now let's come back to the moss gray. All right, I think that's as good as it's going to get. Normally I would color that off camera, something that takes that long, but I try to be transparent with y'all. And if I'm struggling with something, I want you to see me struggling with it. Number one, in case you have any tips for me on these pencils, but number two, if you're struggling too, then maybe you won't feel so alone. It's not just you. So what I'm going to do is take the night blue. And the night blue, we're going to come back in here. And that's, again, you can see where it's going to help us deepen that shadow a little bit. Makes it really kind of pretty, I think. Okay. And now we will take, I'm going to take the third dark color, moss gray. I'm not going to use the moonstone. I'll use the moss gray to kind of blend out that night blue a little bit. Okay, now let's do the rest of the bell and I will be right back. You will need, I'll get you the colors, hang on. Gonna start out with plum. And plum will be the color for the whole rim of the bell. I just thought I'd keep it simple. I'm not shading it, not adding any shadow. I'm just going straight up plum to keep it simple. Okay, plum will also be, let's see, the color of these little arches here. And plum is number 69, by the way. And it's okay if I'm coloring outside of the lines a little bit because we're going to go in with a darker purple next, which will cover up any of that. Okay, you know what? I apologize, y'all. It's not plum, it's beetroot. I'm so sorry. Use beetroot, not plum. It's number 70. If you already used the plum, following me, you can just go over it with the beetroot to darken it just a little bit. I kept looking over here thinking, why does that look a little darker? So again, perfection is not something I strive for on this channel or ever achieve. Next, we're going to take blueberry, and blueberry will be these little bitty dots here, and then the center of these little arches. And I can see where I've missed some places with my brown pencil, so I'll go back and clean that up. I'm coloring this in quite a hurry for y'all, but I just wanted to get this out before Christmas. I'm sorry it wasn't sooner. Every year I think, wow, I should have started my Christmas coloring videos, recording them in like September and October, so as soon as Halloween is over, I could just start throwing them out there for y'all, but I get behind and I forget. Life just happens. Okay, so that is that part of the bell. Now what we will do here is we're going to take Dusty Rose. This is going to be the same color combo as the ribbon, and we're just going to kind of color it light to dark. A little bit of plum. Beetroot. I think I stopped with the beetroot. It looks like I did. Just sort of making that a little bit darker there. And then going back with the plum and just blending that out. There we go. Okay, now night blue. Night blue will add a little shadow here, and again, we're just doing the little circles. And then we're using it for the darker outline here. And I think even put a little bit there for night blue. Okay. Now I'm going to take the Gossamer, which is the second color, and just sort of blend that out just a little bit as best you can. It's not really that critical. Okay, so there's that. So let me contemplate the background, and I will be right back with a plan. Okay, I think I've landed on a distressed ink background that's going to be Chip Sapphire, Stormy Sky, and Speckled Egg. So we're going to see how that works. I could completely ruin this right now, but you can stop here. You don't have to move on. I will figure out how to do the stars after I lay down the background. So what I'm going to do is start with the Speckled Egg, Distress Ink. And I've got the little mini pads, and I've got one of the, I'll put a link to these tools in my video description. But I'm just going to start out pretty light. Oops, I'm sorry. You know what, I'm going to have to do my book this way so I don't hit the light stand. But I'm just going fairly light. And that's what I wanted to do, because when I distress ink, after I have already colored the picture, I will go right over the pencil work, as you can see I'm doing here. And I have a video on how to do this. I will link that for you so you can see how to do this. But I don't want you to be afraid. But that's why we're doing the lighter color on the inside. It's going to be more forgiving. Okay, I'm trying to make sure that's staying in the... Okay, all right. And here I'm coming down. If I went out like that, I risk picking up some of the pencil color and smearing it possibly into the rest of my page. I don't know that for sure, just a hunch, but I don't want to try it. If y'all want to try it and report back to me, that's cool, but I don't want to try it right now. So that is Speckled Egg. Next, I'm moving on to Stormy Sky. I'm going to go a little gentle, not get too crazy. And we're just going to make it go darker as we go to the outer edge. And we'll, you know, add more pigment and color as we go. But for right now, I just want to kind of lay this color down to see where this is going to go. Sometimes it's hard when you get up against this other page too. Get those edges. Just do your best. It's not going to be perfect. Okay, and you can see there are some white spaces or lighter spaces from the Speckled Egg. We can clean that up. Let me add a little bit more in here. Okay. And you know what I say, if you don't have any art on you, you're not doing it right. Chip Sapphire, color number 3. I like to move in little circles. I learned a tip from watching one of Zucchini Kitty's videos that if you start a swirling motion off the page and move onto the page, you won't get like that big circle of when you set down the sponge on the page. All right, if this isn't actually moving my camera, I will be shocked. So my apologies if it is. I'm really putting my back into it, y'all. This might be the most cardio I've done in a while. Really want to get a lot of pigment with this blue. Again, this is the chipped sapphire color. And I do have a piece of cardstock underneath here, and actually it is my cheat sheet page that I'm working on, and it was just lying there close to this, so I just flipped it over to the back to use for this. Okay, let me come up here. It can be really difficult to get that edge, so just kind of do your best. Here I'm actually making a straight line, trying to get that. Oops. Okay, now I want to go back to Stormy Sky. Make sure that's in the video. All right. Speckled Egg. Okay. Now back to the chip sapphire to add a little bit more pigment, make it a little bit darker. We'll start up here at the top. Back to the Stormy Sky. Oh, wait a minute. I missed the inside edge with the chip sapphire. Try to get that again. Pigment that up a little bit more. All right, now Stormy Sky. All right, and Speckled Egg one more time. I was worried I wouldn't like the Speckled Egg because it's kind of green, a greenish blue, and these other two blues are very like more royal blue, true blue, I guess, but I think it looks fine. I think it maybe helps highlight the green from the leaves a little bit. Okay, I think I'm going to call that part done. Now, with Distress inks, remember, oops. All right, now with Distress inks, remember that you can sprinkle water on the page and then dab up the water to get little spots, which looks really cool. But because I just think that would be too much for this background, so what I'm probably going to do is take a metallic pen or a white pen and just outline the stars and maybe add a little white embellishment. So let me get that and I will be right back. Okay, I'm going to use my Pentel Hybrid Gel Grip DX gel pen. And what I'm going to do, I'll start up here. I'm just going to outline the stars. Now, sometimes I struggle with these pens, but they work really well over Distress ink. Sometimes they're a little tricky over the colored pencils, especially like a wax-based pencil like the Prismas. So y'all have seen me plenty of times fight the gel pens. But this one's working out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. So I will speed this up for you. Okay, now we've done the stars. Now I've gotten out one of my Posca pens. This is the, what size? 0.9 to 1.3 millimeter. And I'm going to just kind of add some little white highlights on the ribbon. Just little bitty, nothing huge. Maybe adding some right here. Then I'm going to just add some little speckles on the page. I have to hold the paper down, so let me just turn the page a little bit. Just random little speckles. Now I've got a 1.8 to 2.5 to add like little bit bigger dots. Sometimes I overdo the dots. I can't help it. I think they're so much fun. Somebody stop me. Got the 7mm, oh no, it's a 7, it's 4.5 to 5.5 millimeters. A little bit bigger dots, not a whole bunch of those. It's okay if you get them on the leaves. Maybe it'll look like snow a little bit. Okay, I think that's plenty. I'm gonna stop there. So what do you guys think? Good? I hope that you enjoy doing something different, doing Castle Arts. I'm sorry this is so late for the Christmas season. But the good thing is you can use these pencil combos anytime, anywhere, on any page. It doesn't have to be a Christmas page. So I hope you find that useful. The cheat sheet will be available as a completely free download, as always, in my coffee shop, and I'll leave a link to the video. And I guess that's it for today. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season, and I will see you in 2026. Bye-bye.